You ever try to read a history book and you fall asleep because it's so boring? Like, where are the pictures at? Then you try to watch a happened in real life movie and get flashed by Florence Pugh's butt cheeks? Fear not, for there is a cure. You can learn about history in a fun way through the wonderful world of,
Japanese manga.
Alright, I'm done joking. So for real, I just wanted to talk about a series I like. Real hidden gem. It's a story with brutal warfare, fantastic artwork, and a great storyline. Today, I'd like to talk about Ad Astra, Scipio and Hannibal. So before we get into the real nitty-gritty, it's important to get a bit of info out of the way, so that it makes sense what I'm talking about. Ad Astra is a somewhat fictionalized telling of the Second Punic War, which a lot of people don't know too much about, and if you do, you probably only saw that one over-explained video about it. The basic gist of it is that there was a war between Rome and Carthage in the West Mediterranean. It took place over the course of 17 years, from 218 BC to 201 BC. There was a lot of circumstances that led to the war, but as far as this story is concerned, there are two main ones. The first is the destabilization of Carthage following their loss to Rome during the First Punic War. After their loss, Carthage was forced to pay a massive indemnity, or fee, to Rome. And this was so bad that it completely crippled their economy. They were unable to pay the mercenaries that they had hired during the war to help, and that led to revolts and further loss of life. And things got even worse with Rome as they seized two Carthaginian territories, Sardinia and Sicily, which was seen as a big overstep to the people of Carthage. Eventually, a leading general from the war, Hamilcar Barca, and his son Hannibal expanded Carthage's territory into Spain and brought the country back into relatively good standing. Along the way, Hamilcar died, but his son Hannibal never forgot what Rome did. And with the country now better off, there was only one thing he could do. So Hannibal took a relatively small and relatively weak army and crossed the Alps to face off against Rome. And due to constant victories he had in the face of unlikely odds, Hannibal went on to be known as one of, if not the greatest tactician in human history. And he could have single-handedly defeated Rome, if not for the later rise of Scipio Africanus. But the circumstances behind their battle are a little bit more complicated. Ad Astra covers all of that fascinating history, including the larger-than-life people involved, and the unbelievable strategies that unfolded. And it does so with an insane level of accuracy for what Japan typically offers. I mean, this is the same country that gave us gender-swapped King Arthur, so it's not like there's a high standard, but it's more than that. It's actually high quality by most standards. Every major event and every pertinent detail is covered here. The only place you get fictionalized elements are to make the story flow better, either because of simple lack of information, due to the primary sources focusing more on geopolitics, or because there are contradictions in the information we have. So with that in mind, Ad Astra creates a myth of a destined showdown between its two main heroes. By juxtaposing and comparing their lives, you see their friends, loved ones, and the events that formulated their worldviews. Hannibal, for example, is portrayed as a mysterious and empty prodigy from birth, and the author plays with his name's meaning, the Grace of Baal, the Canaanite god of storms. There's an aura to him and an element that the author plays with, that Hannibal may be a mythological gift to the people of Carthage, to obtain their revenge. Scipio, on the other hand, is portrayed as a player of games, an aloof underdog and an improviser, and he wants to match Hannibal's challenge to simply prove he's better. Both characters are portrayed with reverence and weight, but they're also deeply humanized and nuanced. Hannibal is a warmonger that committed many atrocities, but he's also portrayed as contemplative and a sophisticated man. He fights against Rome with complete confidence in his cause, and the idea that all means he could take are justified. He started this invasion, but to him, Rome were the instigators. On the other hand, Scipio's homeland is under attack by Hannibal, and he had no personal involvement in the First War. He can do nothing but his duty to his own country and people. The story constantly switches perspectives between the two, and you get a real even view of things. You get to know both men intimately, and you'll root for both of them at different times. What you get here that you don't get from the historical sources is a real interesting character study. But aside from the accuracy and character study, the best part of this manga is simply watching the battles unfold. There's a massive sense of scale and brutality to the battles, and the art style is rough and sufficiently realistic. And this is real smart stuff that you can enjoy because the strategy shown actually worked in real life. A good early example is the Battle of Trebia. The Romans and Carthaginians were close to each other and getting ready to fight during the day. But early in the morning, while people were still resting, Hannibal ordered a small detachment of his Numidian cavalry to provoke the Roman camp, who took the bait and rushed to chase them down. In the meanwhile, while they were chasing them down, Hannibal kept his own camp well fed and rested. Then Hannibal positioned his troops on the far side of the now freezing river, which forced the attacking Romans to become more fatigued in the process of crossing over. Finally, he split up his own army by positioning some of his infantry in an obscured area, which went unnoticed. As a result of these aspects combined, the Romans were ill prepared for the fight and they ended up surrounded. The Romans were known for their tight organization and perhaps too straightforward of pride at the time, and because of that, they were completely overwhelmed and defeated. This might sound simple in the context of a video, like mine or a documentary, but the neat thing about seeing it in this manga is that you get to see the process. Everything gets foreshadowed and it's a gradual buildup. It's like you're watching a bunch of dominoes fall on top of each other. In this case, one crucial element that I left out is how the cocky commander of the Romans is set up. Early before the fight, we meet this guy Tiberius Sempronius Longus, a rude guy who disses Scipio, then leads his squad to their doom. The story obviously does portray this guy as a fool, as he falls for Hannibal's ploy, but it gives a lot of good reasons for him to be so cocky. So you can see that it's not Hannibal just benefiting off of someone else's incompetence. The thing the story tells us about Longus is that he's a plebeian consul that needed to get a great military victory to maintain his status. See, at the time, Rome had a system where certain families were considered lower class than others. Patricians were the higher class who were allowed to become senators and were generally richer, while plebeians were workers, farmers, and lower class. The only way that some plebeians were able to obtain merit and make better lives for themselves was by obtaining military victories, which led to Longus's circumstances. Because he wanted a better life for his family and wanted to be an example of societal reformation, he really needed to defeat Hannibal. Hannibal, seeing that, implemented it into his plan. You get all of that detail going into just one fight in this manga. Each battle is explored in a similar way, and they all feel like a payoff to an arc. Because of the accuracy, the character study, and the battles, I feel that this manga is genuinely the best way to experience this story. It's not 100% factual, as it does add some interpolation, but it is a great jumping on point to get you to do your own research. So hey, if you think it looks interesting, please check it out. It's 81 chapters and extremely solid, and I think based off of the stuff I usually talk about, you guys will like it. The only real downside is that there's no official English release, but there are some real solid fan efforts if you know where to look. Anyway, if you like this video, feel free to like and subscribe. Bye.